Hey Explorers, this episode was brought to you by Anchor.fm. It's the distribution service that we use to get this podcast to you. And to be honest, it's great. It's free. There's tons of creation tools that let you edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. They upload it to everything, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and tons of others. You can even make money with no minimum listenership. So it's got everything you need in just one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Charlie, how do you feel about being on the podcast?
Fine.
Cool.
Welcome.
Sorry, welcome back to Rules as Written, the D&D podcast where we learn the rules just before telling them to you.
Yeah, but we won't tell you that because that's a secret.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad PR if people found out about that. Nah, we know all the rules. We've known them all since before they were written.
Yeah, Gary Gygax, long-term friend of the show.
Oh, he is not a good source for rules. All right, so what is on the agenda today, JT?
Movement and position.
And position.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a good topic.
Yeah, it's pretty key. We're covering a few things as well. Sizes, that's also being thrown in here.
That'll be there. We got lots of stuff for our tabletop friends with squares and grids.
Love me some squares.
Yeah.
All right, what's the first part?
So, when you're talking about movement and position, the first thing that's the most important is your speed, right? On your character sheet.
Definitely. You'll have a little speed stat. It should be in the middle.
It should be 30 feet.
It should be 30 feet. Nearly every race has 30 feet. A few others don't. Elves are 35?
Is it?
Yeah, but only if you're a wood elf.
Ah, okay.
A few others, halflings have a shorter speed, don't they?
Yeah, that makes sense because they're
25, I think.
They're tiny boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, when you create your character, they'll have a little speed in their character creation table, and that'll be your speed. How far you can move in a turn.
Yeah. And that speed will reflect the little squares if you're playing on...
I thought you were going to say, will reflect the number 30.
That speed, which is 30.
Yeah, like everyone has 30, by the way. Almost everyone has 30.
Yeah, so everyone laugh at the halfling.
Especially the wood elf.
Yes.
I've just got that, like, Skinner meme. Pathetic. All right, what's first up?
Okay, so you know how to move at this point. You can also break up your moves in combat.
This is something I see people fail to do quite often.
Or at least
forget.
ask a lot. Yeah, they ask
Yeah, they
a lot.
ask or they forget you can do it.
You can totally do this, and you can break it up a lot.
Yeah, you could, in any amount really. So you could move 5 feet, use your bonus action, move 10 feet, use your main action, and then move another 10 feet because you're a filthy halfling. Yeah, breaking up your action, keep it in mind. You don't have to use all your movement in one go.
Yeah, so breaking up your action is just between every thing in combat you can do on your turn, like a bonus action or your action. Well, those two things.
Yep. Saying things, your free action as well.
Yeah, you can put an amount of movement between them, which can be very helpful sometimes. Interestingly enough, you can also move between your attacks. So a lot of people at a certain level will have extra attack.
Yeah, that's true.
You can move between those attacks.
Although it's kind of almost self-defeating because if you move between your attacks, you're going to take an attack of opportunity.
Unless he dies.
All right, well, fuck me. All right.
Yeah. You marked him.
Cool back.
You pointed at him and you said, this guy
right
this fucking guy. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah.
It might be less useful though. You're right. I mean, like most of the time, like you're probably just gonna be hitting the same guy.
You're just wailing on one poor sod.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
What if you've got different movement speeds?
Well, if you have different movement speeds, that might mean something like you're asking like if you have something like a fly speed.
Yeah, if you have
like-
a fly spell or something on you.
So if you use a spell, it will tell you like now you have 60 feet of movement flying.
Yeah.
You can also break that up. I mean, like, effectively, if you have that, then you are, like, you fly at 60 feet per turn.
And then you break that up. What about mix and matching them? If you have a fly speed, you don't lose your like walking speed or your climbing speed if you have climb speed.
Yeah, exactly.
So what if you want to swim and then climb, for example? If you've got a swim speed of 40 and a climb speed of 30.
Yeah,
How
I mean
does
that would be weird if you had separate. Like for the most part, most people just have like you calculate your climbing or swimming speed.
Let's put this into perspective. Let's say you're a Triton, someone casts Spider Climb on you. So Tritons naturally have a swim speed of 30, and Spider Climb gives you a climbing speed of your base movement, like your normal walking speed.
So 30.
Yeah.
So in your example, you walk at 30, you swim at 30, and you climb at 30.
Okay, but also there's a potion of extra climb speed that gives you an extra 10-foot climb speed, okay?
Okay, so
it's very relatable,
Yes.
JT.
Yeah.
What happens in this scenario? I need to know.
All right.
I have a game waiting for me.
Yeah, this is a very frequently asked question to us here. At
Every
RaW.
time I open up our inbox, it's just emails from Triton players. Send help, game is on pause.
Yeah, here's my crazy situation.
Here we are. We're here to help. By the way, if you do have any questions, send them to us.
Hit us up.
Toby at rulesaswrittenshow.com.
Rules is Written Show. We could
Yeah.
not get the domain for Rules is Written. If you go to rulesaswritten.com, it's just like a fucking squatter.
Yeah, someone's squatting on that site, so we couldn't get it. But we got a show, which is on brand, let's say. So yeah, send us emails. Once again, that's Toby at rulesaswrittenshow.com.
That's the first time you've plugged your email.
And here it is.
Yeah, how's it feel?
Filthy. This is disgusting.
It's scary. You're gonna get a lot of like weird fucking. Like,
Send them in.
let's hope that like Gmail porn filter is.
Oh,
like,
All right. So what happens in my incredibly relatable scenario?
Back to the incredibly relatable scenario. So in this incredibly relatable scenario, you can break up these different speeds. And
Okay, so I've got a climb speed of 40, swim speed of 30, let's say.
Yeah, so you're swimming down this ravine and then you want to grab onto the thing. You'll probably make an ability check, which we covered in one of the previous episodes.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a spider climb and you've got no weapons, but you just want to punch him.
Yeah, so you're like, I guess you're like, you know, swimming down some ravine and then you climbing up onto the ledge so that you get up onto the cliffside or something.
So you can go get him. So you can mark him.
You can
this
fucking
guy.
get this guy, this fucking guy.
What happens?
Imagine that you have like bars.
Okay. That's a very good analogy. I like that.
You like that?
I like it a lot.
Yeah. I came up with that myself.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You should write that down.
So imagine you have these meters. You have
Energy bars in a video game.
energy bars.
Yeah, stamina bars.
You have your 30 feet for your swim, and then you have your 40 feet for your. I'm doing like hand gestures, but you have to just visualize it in your home.
Visualize bars, guys.
Yeah, and you have 40 feet of your climb.
Yeah.
So if you're swimming first, and let's say you used all 30 feet of your swim speed, then you grab onto that ledge. You've used also 30 feet of your climb, but now you
Okay.
have an extra 10 that you can still use.
So then you can use the climb. What about if it's the other way around? What if, whatever reason, you're climbing up to a cliffside pool? So you climb up 20 feet of your 40 feet climb speed.
Yes.
Then how much swim speed do you have left?
You will have 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've used 20 of both your swim and climb. But since your swim is only 30 and you've already used 20 climbing, now you have 10 left of your swimming. bar.
So our energy bars deplete at the same rate.
Yes, every energy bar.
Yeah, so
including
it's
your
just
flying
foot
and your
for
walking
foot. It's
and
not
everything.
like you don't have to do any percentage maths or anything. It's just foot for foot. They both deplete.
Yeah.
Whenever you are moving, all your speeds deplete at the same rate, 1
Yeah.
foot per foot, and then whatever you have left is what you can use.
Yeah, and actually, in another example, you might be someone who wants to fly into combat. You have your fly speed, you go into combat, you use like, say you have like a 60 fly speed, and then you land next to some guy, and then you fight him, and then he dies. And you hit him once, but you got your extra attack. So now, like, you use 20 feet of movement with your fly speed, and you still have like 10 feet left with your walking speed. So you can use that in-between moment to walk up to the next guy with 10 feet.
So if you've got 60 feet fly speed in this example,
Yeah.
you use 20 feet to fly into combat,
Yeah.
then you have another 10 feet you can walk and 40 feet or I should say 40 feet fly speed. So you walk that 10 foot.
Yeah.
Then you can no longer walk. You
But you
have to
can.
use your fly speed.
Yes.
You have to fly if you want. So if you're in some kind of anti-gravity trap, whatever, you can no longer move. If you are in literally any other scenario, then you can still
That
fly.
scenario sounds like the DM doesn't like your spell anymore. You've abused it. This is your timeout.
So yeah, those are some pretty... Let's do one more just for prosperity. For example, you have a 50 feet fly, a 40 feet climb, and a 30 feet swim.
Okay, yeah. Crunching some numbers now and locked in.
You fly into combat for 30 feet.
Yes.
And your combat is in a pool. You
Okay.
can no longer swim because you've used all your 30 feet of movement. You do, however, still have 10 feet of climb speed. If you were next to a cliff, you could use that. And 20 feet of fly speed.
Yeah.
So if you climbed 10 feet, you can no longer climb anymore, but you still have 10 feet of fly speed.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was
that's how you
extremely...
can-
There's your algebra.
Break up. Yeah, so D&D is all about math at its core.
Yeah, it's... Just keep an eye on those bars in your brain, those energy bars.
Yeah, it doesn't come up very often, but when you want to mix and
Yeah, this
match-
is never gonna fucking come up in a game.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe if you're, like, I don't know, it might come up where you're, like, mixing two things, but
I
this
could
is, like,
see
the
swim
extreme
and
scenarios.
climb, maybe.
Yeah.
But you'll nearly always have the same swim and the same climb.
Yeah.
Walking and climbing, that would be the one, wouldn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, if
It's
you're
probably in
walking
the
up to-
negative area because, like, when you deal with, actually in the next section, which we can cover now, is difficult terrain.
Hey.
So when you're going through difficult terrain, this becomes much more apparent because if you want to, climb up that cliff face, your movement now costs more. So what that means is that for every 1 foot that you climb this cliff face,
Yeah.
you spend 2 feet of movement.
So you're
in your energy bar.
To go back to our analogy, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bollocks. You got there first.
Yeah, beat you.
It depletes twice as fast.
Yeah, it depletes twice as fast. So this actually matters in the sense that you are just depleting your energy bars faster than normal. So when you get out of climbing this thing, you will have less movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after you've climbed that 10-foot cliff face, then now you've spent 20 feet of your 30 feet movement. So
And
you
you
only
have
have 10
feet
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. If you have a climb speed, you just basically use your normal movement instead of it costing twice.
Yeah, so that's the value or the benefit of having something that says explicitly, I have a climb speed.
Yeah,
I
same
have
with
a-
swim speed. Swim speed
Yeah, I have
halves
a
your
swim
movement,
speed.
doubles the cost of the movement, I should say.
Yeah, anything that is difficult terrain, something that we've covered in the environment episode.
We did go through it there. Is there anything else on difficult terrain?
That's pretty much it. It gives examples on things that might be difficult terrain, but again, we've covered that for the most part.
Well, rattle off a few.
Low furniture, rubble, undergrowth, steep stairs.
Steep stairs.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one.
That's I'm picturing. Is it Tirithon Gol?
like there's just like really high
Yeah, going up to
stairs
Shelob's
going
lair in
to-
Lord of the
yeah.
Rings.
Yeah, or like the Ace Ventura when he's like doing the slinky down.
We have a very different.
I feel like I don't see the difference of these examples.
Yeah. Okay. What's next? I think the next one is quite a big thing.
Here's another one. Yeah, a lot of people will probably be asking about the rules of prone. I mean,
This
like,
is something I see people playing wrong, differently.
yes,
a lot.
and I have Googled this many times.
Yeah, the answers are not always that clear.
So it is pretty common that you'll be dropping prone. Like
Yeah, loads
enemies
and
will
loads
knock
of
you down.
Spells do it.
Yeah, either like against you, right? If something happens where it just knocks you down, or maybe you do it on purpose because you're sneaking or something like that. Like you are
Yeah.
laying down, you're prone.
Hey, it's future Toby. We said something a little bit wrong here, so I'm just gonna cut it right on out. Back to the episode.
It gives people disadvantage.
Yeah, so if
attacking you.
it gives people disadvantage at a range of something you'll have to discover in the last episode because I forgot. But close up, they have advantage on you. So
Yeah.
if they're shooting at you, then being prone is advantageous.
Yeah.
You can go prone without costing any movement.
That's
so
cool.
you can just drop down and 0 movement. But if you want to stand back up, that will...
It costs amount equal to half your max movement, right? Your max movement speed, your base speed.
Yeah, so that will reduce your movement by half.
Yeah, so it's a
Spend half of
one-time
your-
cost. If, as probably is the case for most people, your movement speed is 30, it's a one-time cost of 15
Yeah.
of your base movement speed. If you have any effects that give you more movement, it's just half your base movement speed.
Yeah, and you can't stand up if you have less than that. So if you spend 20 feet of your movement already, and then you go prone, then you now don't have that 15, if your base is 30,
Yeah.
you now don't have that 15 feet necessary to stand back up.
Yeah, makes sense.
So sit your ass down.
Okay, what other things have we got?
So flying movement is something that we've talked about actually in detail.
Yeah, we've gone
Before.
through that.
I
It
forgot
comes up again
which
in combat.
Episode.
Well, viewers will have to listen to them all.
Just listen to them
Listeners
all.
will have to listen
Find,
to them
yeah,
all.
little treasure trove of.
If you email me the episode number, the first person to email me the episode
Toby at-
wins.
Toby at
Wins.
roseswrittenshow.com.
Wins a hongbao. But they have to be on WeChat to claim it. And also a resident of the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, and we're not going to explain what hongbao is. Yeah, we're alienating anyone who's not in China.
Alright, what we got next? Flying speed.
Yeah, so flying. Yeah, so we'll go over it briefly again, but the only special thing that comes with flying is that if your speed is reduced to 0 by being knocked, or if you're knocked prone, your speed is reduced to 0 and you start falling.
Okay, is there anything that keeps you aloft?
If you are being held aloft by magic,
So if you're...
such as the fly spell, then you can hover.
So you'll just be unconscious hovering in the air.
Can you do that if you're... No, because fly is concentration, right?
What if someone classes fly on you?
That would just be a silly situation. Yeah, then you're just
that's
on a
the
yeah, that's
rules
it. That's
as
it. Yeah,
written.
that's. I mean, yeah, you fucking cracked the code, Toby. Someone casts fly on you, and you're knocked unconscious. You're just an unconscious body floating, hovering.
Alright, so you may want to house rule that one. But if you've got wings, if you're a, what is it, Arakara, something like that, or a Asmir.
Yeah, right. Anything that has like a different means of
Normal,
Flying.
natural flying.
and maybe a lot of monsters will. This will be applicable
yeah,
to.
that'll apply to monsters.
So yeah, knock your monsters that are flying prone because it would be hilarious.
Full damage.
Yes, if you can do that, that is too funny.
Free kills. Okay, sizes. We should probably touch on sizes before we go any further.
Yeah, sizes we'll need to understand for the next few things. A creature's size is going to be reflected in terms of how much space you take up.
Yeah.
So this is kind of based on the tabletop grid system, the
Yeah.
5x5 squares.
Yep. We'll
So-
touch on that in a second.
Yeah, each square on your thing is 5x5. Your medium-sized character, and interestingly enough, also small-sized characters,
Because lots of like gnomes are small, dwarves are small.
just so that they didn't have to feel left out.
Yeah, basically.
You
I
take
think
up
it's
a
just for
5x5 square.
You're as big as the rest of us. Inside.
And I like to imagine that they just have like a really long wingspan. Because the thing about size is that it's not reflective of their height necessarily when it comes to this. It is, when you're talking about movement, you're talking about how much grid do you take up, your horizontal space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dwarves with really long arms, I guess.
So it's like your zone of control.
Yes, how much you control.
So what are the sizes quickly?
So tiny, 2.5 by 2.5.
So half a square
Half a square.
if we're using a grid.
Small and medium, both 5x5.
That's one square, pretty easy enough. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like the measuring stick that everything else is.
Exactly.
to.
That's everything. Everything is kind of gauged on that 5x5.
Yeah.
Then you have the large, which is 10 by 10, huge, which is 15 by 15, and gargantuan, which is 20 by 20 or larger.
See, this always felt a bit weird to me that gargantuan is the largest and it's 20 by 20.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, like, yeah, if you're fighting
there's things
something that's
bigger.
like,
like dragons or rocks. If you fight a rock, they are huge.
yeah, if you want to have that campaign that has that, like our campaign has dragons in them. Right?
I don't like the size. I make our dragons bigger.
It doesn't make sense putting them in little 20 by 20
Yeah.
thing. And then also, I mean, like you can, so the space that they can take up can be larger under the laws of Gargantuan. But then you get really weird stuff, like if you were a size large, then you can grapple a dragon, even if it's like 50 billion times bigger than you.
Yeah, I know many people kind of house rule sizes above Gargantuan. It's one of probably the most common DM house rules. That doesn't affect players too much, but the DM will like write in. People use different words: colossal, leviathan, even like colossal plus, colossal plus plus, colossal plus 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 plus, plus so on and so forth. I tend to do it by intuition. It's like you may be a huge creature, but you're not getting this dragon. You're not grappling a dragon.
So that's our argument.
Off,
that's our argument for that. We'll talk more about like what size classes mean for like certain abilities and certain things like that
size
later.
classes will pop up everywhere, but the order goes tiny, small, medium, large, huge, Gargantuan. Medium is the middle. There's 2 sizes above, 2 sizes below, and Gargantuan on top of it all. That's kind of how
it's all quite intuitive.
Yeah.
So now when you want to do something functional in terms of movement, like I want to squeeze into a smaller space, which is another rule.
Yeah.
You can only squeeze into spaces one size smaller than you.
Okay.
Which is also kind of intuitive.
Yeah, that's pretty simple enough. So your dragon can't fit into the Metal Gear Solid vent.
Yeah. Only imposters can fit in the vent.
I've got a much older reference than you.
Yeah, I represent the new.
I represent.
Move over, Grandpa.
What do I represent anymore? Okay, there was one more thing. Moving around creatures. I think that's kind of the last.
Oh well, before we move on to that,
Okay.
when there is extra when you're moving through, when you're squeezing through smaller spaces,
Hit me with it.
it costs 1 foot of extra movement.
So it's difficult
terrain. Yeah.
That's kind of the shorthand for it. It's difficult terrain.
So when you want to move on around other creatures, this is also where size matters. One of the many ways.
Don't cry, Toby.
If you want to move through a non-hostile, like a friend's character, that's fine. You can just move through non-hostile creature spaces.
Easy enough.
Yeah, this also kind of is a little bit more tabletop-y, but you can have it come up in like...
I think the majority of people probably use grids when they play.
I don't know.
At least for combat.
I haven't played a lot. I mean, like, I've played ones where combat uses a grid.
Yeah, most of the times, I know there's varying levels of it. Some people will grid out an entire dungeon. Some people will have a whiteboard grid. That's a really common one. That's probably the one I've seen used the most.
Yeah, you use like
whiteboard out.
virtual tabletops as well.
Yeah, any virtual tabletop.
These
will
days,
have
I mean,
grids.
a lot of people are probably using Roll20 and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're using Roll20,
Those newfangled
kits, technology.
But yeah, I think grids are probably the number one way to play through combat.
Yeah. So, well, then this is for you. If you wanted to move
Basically
through...
everyone but us.
Yeah, you
No, I've
weirdos.
played on grids. I've played on grids quite a lot. And hexes. I've played on hexes. That's weird. We'll have a whole episode on playing on grids and hexes, but we'll give a quick introduction here for them.
Yeah, it'll be a thing. So if you want to move through a hostile creature's space, the hostile creature has to be 2 sizes larger or smaller than you. So that's where size matters.
Okay.
And I mean, you can kind of imagine why. Like if you're way bigger than them, then you just kind of step over them.
If you're way smaller than them, you just kind of jump
Sleep,
through
sloop.
the worms.
Go through the hoops.
Yeah. Easy enough.
Yeah,
Run through his legs.
it is difficult terrain.
Hey, and we know what that means. 1 extra foot of movement per foot of movement.
Yeah, that's what that means.
Okay, so to cap it all off, let's talk about the grid.
Yeah, now for you grid players out there, the squares, they're all 5 by 5.
Yeah, we've said that before.
No, thank
That
you.
sounded really
Thank
mean. I'm
you,
sorry. I meant to
Toby.
just recap.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be helpful over here.
Well,
Damn.
be better at it.
Damn. All right, be smarter, you guys.
If anyone wants to be the new host on Rules as Written, send me. It's the only requirement.
Yeah, good
is
luck
that you're
managing your
fucking
email.
competent.
See where those emails end up.
All right. I'm sorry, JT. I love you.
Okay, so your speed is also going to be reflected by this. So every square that you move into will be 5 feet.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of it. When you enter a square, you have to have at least 1 square of movement left, so like your multiples of 5.
Yeah.
When you move diagonally, this also just counts as 5 feet of movement.
So 1 square. You can move in like a queen in chess.
Yeah,
No,
kind of.
like a king in chess. No.
Well, both of them move diagonally.
Yeah. Oh,
So
fuck.
that's fine.
I was just thinking per square of movement, you're moving like a king, but for your total movement, you're 30 feet, you're moving like a queen.
Yeah, sure.
But also like a horse, because you can move diagonally. The whole analogy is broken down, and I regret it from the start. Okay, we're moving on.
Yeah, no more chess. This is D&D. We don't play fucking chess over here.
You can move diagonally. That's the point. It costs 1 square to move diagonally. That's what I'm getting at.
We hate chess.
Well, I mean,
Just putting that in there.
okay. Well,
Yeah, comment your opinions.
we're really stirring this hornet's nest, aren't we?
Just start listing other things they don't like. It's like checkers.
Mother Teresa never cared for her. World hunger. It's not bad.
Diagonal movement. 5 feet of movement per square. Yeah, even though like diagonally you would be like, I guess you should be moving more because it's diagonal.
You should be moving like 1.5, but Jesus Christ, that's going to get ridiculously complicated.
Yeah, so in the rules as written, they said fuck
Just
that.
use 1.
Yeah, they fuck that. And then when you want to determine where your movement starts, it starts 1 square adjacent to you and ends on the square that you end up.
Okay, easy enough. The last little thing is, I think some people forget a lot, is corners. You cannot move diagonally if the corner of a wall is between you. So
Yeah, right. So if there are objects that can obstruct it, if there are objects that are adjacent to the...
So if you're moving to the top right, let's say, the top right square on a 9x9, you're in the center, you're moving to the top right, you need a clear space to the top and a clear space to the right.
Yeah.
If the right is occupied by a wall, then you have to use 10 feet of movement to move.
Yeah, you have to do like a little 7.
Nice hand gesture there.
I drew a 7.
He did. I can confirm that. So, and also ranges. How do you measure ranges with a...
I just said that, Toby. Were you not listening? So for those doo-doo heads out there...
Sorry, I was too busy looking at your eyes. I don't know. They're beautiful.
Yeah, the range, it starts from the square adjacent to you, and then it ends on the square that you want to end up on. And then you count the shortest route to get there.
Okay.
Or, I mean, you count the route that you're taking if you wanted to take a different route.
Okay, easy enough.
All right, so before we go,
Yep.
I got a listener question for you. Yeah.
Our first one!
They do love us.
There is an audience!
So,
What is it?
Aiden asks, what are the doses/usages of a potion? Is it 1 drop, or is it the whole thing?
Okay, so most potions and poisons and any liquids will have a usages written in the DMG. That's where most of the items, the base items you'll find. So all the healing potions, they are written as you drink the whole thing.
Yeah.
So they are a 1 use. Pretty much every potion is a 1 use. There's a few other wondrous items.
Yeah, sometimes they describe like multiple
Ointments,
usages,
yeah.
right? So if it's like
It'll say
you have
this
16
thing
usages.
has X amount of usages. Now, you can fluff it. Totally. If you've got someone who's
Got a barrel of healing potion.
chug,
Yeah,
chug,
put in
chug.
that straw. Carry it around.
But yeah, if you've got a potion of superior healing and you have a little cut or something and you just want to put a drop of that on your cut for fluff reasons, yeah, go for it. We do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, so I guess that depends on the rules of your game. If you're talking strictly rules as written, then the long and short of it, or the short of it is just that it is what it says on the item
Yeah,
description.
so
the usages.
nearly everything, especially potions, is 1 use.
Yeah.
Single use. You use it and then you're done. It's a few other things like ointments or rare potions. You may have extra usage.
Yeah, but if it's cool with your DM and you guys have a thing going, you can trust him to give you a little bit of extra healing
Exactly.
potion. Then maybe you can break up a healing potion or something like that. Maybe you can make something work.
Yeah, you could definitely, if you only want to drink half your potion, you could use half the D4s, because they all give D4s. All the base potions anyway. So ask your DM, check if you can break it up. I don't see a reason why you couldn't, really.
Yeah,
Unless you're
I feel like that
playing
kind of
really-
makes real life sense as
Yeah,
well.
if you want to just drink half a potion, that's fine.
But it will begin to expire after you've unsealed it.
you got to listen for the pop.
Yeah, once you've unsealed it, now it only has like
You got like 3
days.
Oh man, all right. I think that's it. I think we're good for this episode.
Yeah, send us any more questions that you have.
Toby at rulesofwrittenshow.com.
Toby at rulesofwrittenshow.com.
Send them to me. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
That's a wrap. See ya.
Bye.